we're back. Another episode of Explore Tips, Tricks and Review. Last ep, we were talking all things awning, and I ran you through the Bush Company 270 degree XT awning. Now this week, we're gonna get stuck into rooftop tents. By far my favorite way to tour. It is my favorite camping setup. It completely changed the way that I camped. I obviously used to run swags all the time, swags on stretchers, swags on the ground. Your typical canvas fold out rooftop tents. Now I had a few different brands of them, and look, to be honest, they were okay, but for me, I would rather just use a swag. They weren't quite as fast and efficient enough for the way I like to camp and how fast I'm moving. The other thing I found is when you went to set them up, the zips tend to always get quite full of dust, and then the bag itself is always extremely dirty. So by the time you go to set up, you end up putting dust all over yourself. You've broken a sweat running around the truck. That's just a little bit of background of where I've come from with my camping. I then stepped up into my first hard shell rooftop tent, which was an Alucab. Once again, Alucab, that was an epic product, and I basically just about wore it out, and I was going to do a massive 8-week trip touring through Australia. I needed a new setup, and that's when I got in contact with Dean from the Bush Company. So full disclosure, I am sponsored by the Bush Company, but I have used a variety of different tents, which is why I ended up teaming up with the Bush Company. I didn't do it for the fun of it. I did it because I thought it was the best product on the market at the time. So when I first teamed up with the Bush Company, I was in their Black Series tent. Basically, I lived out of that thing for a solid 8 weeks, and then all the other trips we did as well. So I probably ran that tent for a good year, maybe a little bit longer. All in the back of my head, I knew this thing was coming, and credit to Dean, I gave him a few small little bits of feedback from using the Black Series that he was able to implement into this Alpha Series tent. It's all the little 1%ers of this tent that I think sort of puts it at the top of its game within the clamshell hard rooftop tent. So we'll get stuck in. What we might do initially is we'll just do a walk around the outside, and I can show off some of the features. Then we'll open it up and I'll show you through the inside. But it is a aluminium constructed clamshell tent. This is probably one of the things that sets it apart from any of the other tents on the market, is its mounting system. So it's got a full extrusion rail running the whole way around the tent. Now that comes in handy for just about everything. So on the front here, all of his own hinges that then can be moved depending on what accessories you want to fit onto the front. So these are a Bush Company bracket to mount your light bars, because the intensities are 2 separate lights, obviously four mounting brackets, and I just had to slowly slide some of the actual hinges of the tent around. So the versatility of what you can put on here all sort of comes down to this unique mounting system. Now on the side, obviously I've got the XT awning, which uses those mounting brackets as well. As we come around the back, one thing you'll notice is some bloody heavy duty latches. So it's none of your Chinese bloody cheap latches. It's a fully custom designed latch to suit the Bush Company. Nice and easy. And then of course, lockable as well, if you want to lock your rooftop tent. I never have, but anyway. The other good thing about these is, once again, they are movable. Handle, same thing, all in this extrusion rail, so easy to change, slide around if you need to. And this bracket here is basically your mounting bracket for the ladder, which I will show you on the other side. So each tent comes with 2 brackets, one for the back of the tent and one for the side of the tent. Now the reason they do that is because if you've got your 270 degree awning out, you're not going to be entering from the rear of the tent. So we'll keep wandering. As we come around the side, here's where you'll see my other mounting bracket. Now this is the bracket that I use probably 90% of the time. I'll tell you what, while we're here, I'll pull the ladder out. That is actually where I keep my ladder when I'm touring. I normally have a fridge in there and my ladder just sits there. It just gives me easy access to grabbing it. You can have it inside the rooftop tent, but I find that this bag always tends to just end up dirty or wet, so I don't like to put it in with my bedding. Anyway, that normally comes out. I fold that up. I normally sit that on the wheel arch. Even after a few cold ones, you can basically come up, sits on, you can find it no matter where you are, easily locks on, slide and lock down. And that's basically as simple as that. And that's your ladder bracket, nice and sturdy. A few of the other ones are a pin system or got a clamp. That's the best bracket I've seen so far. Just keeps it nice and easy. While I'm up here, I've got my shovel holder on the top. So another cool feature, along with the exclusion rails all the way around, you do have two full-length rails on the roof here. What that means is you can run another set of load bars if you'd like, which is extremely handy because obviously this does take up the whole of your roof. So this now becomes your roof rack, whether you want load bars or whether you just want to use the aluminium top. The tent will still open up the way that they valve these gas struts with 50 kilos of gear on it. So if you want to strap your surfboards down, a little bit of extra gear, you still can open and close the tent without any dramas. So all I do is just your M8 nuts. I've got 4 stainless steel eye bolts up there, and that way anything I chuck up there, I can just strap down. A few other products to mention that do go straight into these rails and he has brackets for is like your Max Trax holders, your high lift jack holders, obviously your shovel holder. Me personally, the tent and awning is already quite heavy, so I like to keep my Max Trax and my high lift jack, everything down just that little bit lower. One other thing I can see while we're cruising around here is the gas struts. The gas struts are actually mounted on the outside of the tent. Now, one of my previous tents, they were mounted internally. Now, I thought, oh, that's a far better idea. Having them internal, they won't get broken off. You won't smash them on the side of trees, etc. Now, both the Black Series and the Alpha have the struts on the outside, and I've been through some pretty hairy country. Obviously, the strut on the left-hand side of the car is protected by your awning anyway, and you can see the amount of scratches down here. I've never, ever had a drama with breaking that off. What I did have a drama with was when you put the struts inside the tent, just naturally inside the tent, it's always going to hold that little bit of moisture. And what ended up happening was the strut itself actually rusted because I'm up the beach quite a bit. One day I went to open it, bang, the gas strut ball essentially snapped because it had rusted through, and my tent wouldn't stay up. So visually, it's good to have these on the outside to see if there is any rust forming and if you wanted to change them over. So I just thought I'd mention that. That's something that I get asked quite often. Never had a drama with them. Righto, let's open it up and have a look. So this is how I do mine. Obviously, I jump up on the back of the truck. Sometimes, if it's a really quick overnight stop, I don't even have the awning out and I will literally just climb into the tent via the back without a ladder. I do have a nice little step here, being my drawers, so that makes it simple for me. It's going to be different for every setup. Couple of quick statistics, I guess. It's 88 kilos, so it is quite a heavy tent, but you'll see why as we go through it. It is 2.25 meters long and 1.4 wide, so absolutely massive. Now it opens up 1.8, which is, I'm going to say, one of the highest opening on the market. I don't know if it is the highest opening. It is slightly higher than the Alucab, and it is higher than the Black Series, the predecessor. So you got this nice bungee here, which basically keeps everything pulled in nice and tight. And what you'll see now is one of my favorite parts. Reach inside. You've got your steel spring poles, I think they are. So nice and easy. That slides into a little space there. Grab the other one out, and this one goes up on top. Slides in there. Have a go at the size of the rainfly, and this is one of my favorite features. Couple of reasons. One, if it's pouring rain, I'm stood here, I'm obviously staying dry while I'm getting in and out of the tent. Same goes for if I've got the awning open and I'm coming up on that other side. You do have a nice little bit of rain coverage when you're trying to get in and out of your bed. Canvas wise, it's a 300 gram poly cotton ripstock canvas. Now, one thing that I believe is unique to the Bush Company, I haven't seen it in any other rooftop tents, is it's actually double layered. So what that means is you've got your external layer and then there's a full another internal layer. So you essentially have two tents on top of each other. What this does is it increases the thermal properties. So when the sun hits the outside of this tent, the back of it is actually fully UV treated, just like the top of the awning if you've seen the previous video. So all the heat hits this external layer, rather than hitting that one layer of canvas that most other rooftop tents do. So you can black out if you've got the doors shut, which obviously you lose your airflow, but by having that extra thermal property, it does stay a lot cooler, which means you're not getting woken up sweating your ass off. Now, the other benefit is if you're in freezing cold climates, you're gonna run through the snow in the Victorian high country, those sorts of things. By having the 2 layers, same principle, you've got twice the canvas to keep the heat inside that rooftop tent. On those freezing cold nights, you do have another vent pocket at the top here. So that still lets a little bit of airflow in, which will limit the condensation that you get inside the tent. The other cool thing about having the dual layer, while we're talking about condensation, is that your condensation will tend to form in between the 2 layers, and there's little drain holes where the condensation and water can actually seep out, rather than having that internal layer absolutely wringing wet, which when you fold up in turn wets your bedding. So look, definitely good for extremely hot and extremely cold climates, a bit of both. I don't think anyone else is doing that. Now, midgy mesh, which is important, and an absolutely massive opening on all 3 windows to give you that airflow. I don't think there's really anything else I can show you from here. Let's jump inside and check it out. We'll use the ladder. All right, so when entering from this side, when I said there's dual layers, I don't always keep both down. So you've got your internal canvas wall, which you want. So you've got your mesh, which gives you airflow. If it starts pouring rain, you can simply zip up the internal canvas door to stop any of that rain coming in. Now, if it's extremely hot or extremely cold and you want to keep the weather out, or it looks like it's going to be a big rain event, you've essentially got your extra layer of canvas there. Now, just for ease of use, I don't always have these down. I tend to just leave them permanently rolled up because predominantly the type of camping I'm doing, it's nice and hot and I like to have the windows down, right? So they just roll up out of the way. I simply open up our mesh and we're home sweet home. Welcome to my humble abode. Basically, this is what I normally do. Come up and I normally chuck my thongs in the side pocket. If I've got boots, there's 2 pockets on the side here. You can never have enough pockets, so we'll run through them real quick. You've got your side pockets, what I kind of like to call his and hers pockets. Then up top, take my hat off so you can see. So you've got 6 on the roof. Now, these you might store random bits and pieces that you want kept up in your bed, your books, whatever you want to take to bed, go nuts. One thing that I do use this middle pocket for is I unzip it down and I sit it like that, and my iPad is actually the perfect length. So my iPad sits in there, we put our heads up this way, and we watch our Netflix in bed. Now, 2 other really important pockets to point out is on the front entry here. If you live out of a rooftop tent like I do, you always seem to have water bottles rolling around the tent. I always chuck my water bottle in there at night time. Once again, his and hers is 1 on each side. I just pulled out the storm straps for the awning, which I'll show you in a minute. We'll do that after I show you the rest of the inside, but that's where I keep my storm straps. So other than pockets, the next thing that is really important to mention in here is the 12-volt outlet. Now, to be honest, it's massive overkill, but handy to have. So on each side, so you've got his and her power outlets, you have a cigarette lighter, you have a double USB and an Anderson plug on both sides. So basically that means you come up at night, she has her phone charger, you have your phone charger, phone goes down there and it's plugged in. And then if you've got your cigarette lighter to run anything else, perhaps an external fan, if it's extremely hot, you could hang a fan and charge it off there. And I'm not really sure what the Anderson plugs are for, just to be completely honest with you, but I think in South Africa you can probably plug one of your spotting lights and look outside the rooftop tents. Something I may have not mentioned at the start of this video is that these are made over in South Africa. So like we spoke about outside, I've got my storm flaps completely rolled up, nice big mesh to get that airflow. Something that is important to mention, I think, is that if it is raining, I can pretty much have this fly permanently there, and unless it is properly coming in sideways, the massive rain awning will cover it. So if it's a hot night and it's raining, you still have all that airflow. At the moment, I've just rolled it up out of the way. Everything clips to the side or up so that the cameraman has better access. Let's say it's pouring rain and it's a nice hot night. What I typically do is I'll zip these sides probably to about there, and that's it. So you can see the rain fly there. You still get that airflow without fully enclosing yourself in the rooftop tent. Mattress, 75mm high density foam mattress, and then there is actually a nice layer of carpet underneath that as well. And there is a light up top that has 3 different settings depending on the brightness you're after. So because this does have internal power, there's an Anderson plug just on the front of the tent, and I have mine permanently hardwired, so I always have power. I showed you that you can zip up inside all the way or halfway to keep that airflow going. One of the next questions I always get asked is, how does this big fly go when the wind picks up? Now, obviously, without any wind, it's absolutely perfect. That's where these storm straps come into. So I don't know if these are set up to length, but all you do, you can reach from inside your bed, so you don't have to get out of the bed. You clip that on, you pull that down, and that's one side. Got the other one here. These are fully adjustable too, depending on how tight you want it. You can do that from inside your bed while it's raining without getting wet, and all that does is tension up that canvas. I've got them wound up super tight, but you can just sort of adjust them depending on how much tension you want on them. If it's like chaotic wind, and I have been in a couple of scenarios where the wind has been absolutely out of control and you just can't stop the flapping. Not in this tent, because I haven't been in crazy wind in this tent just yet. This is a really cool feature. You can basically, you get rid of your storm straps, you simply undo a buckle on each side, and you can slide this whole entire rainfly completely off. So a couple of benefits there. One, if you know it's going to be an absolutely hectic night and you've got 30, 40K winds coming, take it off. And you know you're not going to have to worry about it. The second option is, if you're going to pack the tent away, it's been pouring rain all night, you know you might not be able to open the tent up for a while, you can simply slide this off, and honestly 90% of the rest of this canvas is going to be dry because of the coverage that you get from this massive rainfly. Well, I tell you what, I've been dribbling about this thing for a while. I am pretty passionate about this tent. I absolutely love it. It is my home away from home. If you're in the market for a rooftop tent, the Bush Company has the 2 models. This is the Alpha, which is basically the high-end product. And then he has the Black Series, which I'll do a separate video on, which is also another amazing tent that I lived out of. There is a few different rooftop tents coming onto the market now. Dean has been making these for about the last 10 years, different types of rooftop tents and awning over in South Africa. So put the Bush Company to the test. If you're having a look at anything, I definitely will throw my name to it. I absolutely love it. Hopefully this COVID ends very shortly so I can get back out on the tracks and enjoy it. Anyway guys, if you've got any more questions, because I probably missed something, chuck them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer all of them for you. Till next time, get out and enjoy the Explore Life.